Story 1. The Silent Lighthouse. In December 1900, a supply ship approached the Flannan Isles lighthouse off the Scottish coast. Relief keeper Joseph Moore was puzzled when no one greeted the vessel. The lighthouse was staffed by 3 experienced keepers: James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. The lighthouse had been operating normally with logs maintained and daily duties performed until December 15th. The last entry described severe winds and storm conditions, though weather reports showed relatively calm seas. All 3 men were known for their reliability and strict adherence to protocol. When Moore entered the lighthouse, he found an unsettling scene: a toppled chair at the kitchen table, a stopped clock, and 1 set of oilskins missing. The other 2 sets hung undisturbed on their hooks. The logbook entries from the days before grew increasingly strange. Marshall wrote of Ducat being unusually quiet, while MacArthur had been crying. The final entry mentioned strange silences, and that all 3 had been praying. Weather instruments showed no significant storms. The kitchen table was set for a meal that was never eaten. Later investigation revealed damage to the west landing platform, with twisted iron railings and a displaced block weighing over a ton. No bodies were ever found. The men's beds were untouched, and their last log entry ended mid-sentence. Searchers discovered signs of massive wave damage 200 feet above sea level, but this didn't explain the psychological state of the men before their disappearance. Local fishermen reported seeing all 3 men walking toward the cliff edge in a trance-like state. To this day, no one knows what really happened to the 3 lighthouse keepers. The lighthouse still stands, automated now, but locals say on stormy nights, 3 shadows can be seen moving behind the lamp room windows. Story 2. Room 1046. On January 2nd, 1935, a man calling himself Roland T. Owen checked into room 1046 at the Hotel President in Kansas City. The hotel staff noted his unusual behavior. He kept his room dark and seemed paranoid about being watched. The maid reported finding Owen sitting in darkness multiple times, and he repeatedly requested fresh towels. During her visits, she noticed he had few belongings and kept the room's only lamp turned toward the wall. A phone call to his room revealed a different man's voice answering, claiming Owen was out. 3 days into his stay, bellboy Harold Pike heard multiple men arguing in room 1046. The voice he recognized as Owen's seemed distressed, repeatedly saying, "No, don't do that." When Pike investigated, Owen claimed everything was fine. On January 4th, strange phone calls came from the room. The operator heard a man screaming. When staff checked, they found the door locked from the outside. Inside, Owen lay naked and brutally beaten, with mysterious cuts and burns. The room showed signs of torture, but no weapon was found. Before dying in the hospital, Owen mumbled about falling downstairs. Investigation revealed he was actually Artemis Ogletree, but no one knew why he used an alias or why he was in Kansas City. The coroner found evidence of prolonged torture spanning days. Police discovered someone had paid his hotel bill and sent his mother letters months after his death, pretending to be him. The typewritten letters contained details only the killer could have known. The case remains unsolved. Room 1046 still exists, though the hotel has changed names. Guests report hearing arguments and screams, while housekeeping staff occasionally find the room's lamp mysteriously turned to face the wall. Story 3. The Lead Masks of Vintém Hill. On August 20th, 1966, 2 electronics technicians, Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana, told their families they needed to buy supplies for work in São Paulo, Brazil. They carried only masks made of lead, a notebook with cryptic formulas, and a packet containing waterproof capsules. The men were known for their interest in spiritualism and UFO phenomena. They purchased raincoats and boarded a bus to Niterói. Witnesses saw them at a bar where they checked their watches frequently. The waitress remembered them saying they needed to be somewhere at a specific time. 3 days later, a young man discovered their bodies on Vintém Hill. They lay side by side, dressed in formal suits and waterproof coats, wearing identical lead masks. There were no signs of violence or struggle. The notebook found nearby contained encoded instructions. 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, swallow capsules. After effect, protect metals, wait for mask signal. The capsules were never found. Toxicology tests were inconclusive due to delayed discovery of the bodies. Local residents reported seeing strange lights over the hill that night. The men's watches had stopped at 6:30 p.m. Their money and valuables remained untouched, ruling out robbery. Most puzzling were the lead masks, crudely made with obvious care. Police found similar coded messages in both men's homes, referring to experiments with other dimensions. Their families revealed they had been working on a mysterious project involving contact, but wouldn't elaborate. The case remains unexplained. Today, hikers on Vintem Hill occasionally report seeing two figures in suits standing motionless, wearing strange masks, who vanish when approached. Story 4. The Somerton Man. On December 1st, 1948, an unidentified man was found dead on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. He was well-dressed, with no identification, and all labels removed from his clothing. In his pocket was a piece of paper with the words Tamam Shud, Persian for it is ended. The man carried no wallet, had no dental records, and his fingerprints matched no known person. His clothing showed exceptional quality, but contained no identifying marks. A suitcase believed to be his was found at the train station, filled with clothes that also had their labels removed. The piece of paper was torn from a rare book of Persian poetry, the Rubaiyat. When police located the book it came from, they found a coded message written in the back, along with a phone number belonging to a nurse named Jessica Thompson. Thompson denied knowing the man, though witnesses had seen him near her house. After her death, her daughter revealed that her mother had known the man's identity, but took the secret to her grave. The coded message has never been deciphered despite decades of attempts. The autopsy revealed unusual features: enlarged spleen, blood in the stomach, and signs of poison. Though none was detected, the man's ear structure was extremely rare, matching a type found in only 2% of the population. In 2021, his body was exhumed for DNA testing. Results suggested links to Thomas Jefferson's maternal line and potential American ancestry. Recent investigation revealed connections to Cold War espionage and a possible secret love affair. The Somerton man's grave still draws visitors. Caretakers report seeing a well-dressed man standing there at dawn, who disappears when approached, leaving behind the scent of Persian spices. Story 5. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. In early 1922, the Gruber family, living on the Hinterkaifeck farm in Bavaria, Germany, began noticing strange occurrences. Andreas Gruber discovered footprints in the snow leading from the forest to their farmhouse, but none leading back. Keys went missing, and they heard footsteps in the attic. The family consisted of Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, her 2 children, and their new maid, Maria. The previous maid had quit 6 months earlier, claiming the farm was haunted. Fresh footprints appeared in the farmhouse, even when all doors were locked. Days before the murders, Andreas told neighbors about discovering a newspaper he hadn't bought and hearing phantom footsteps. Strange sounds came from the attic at night. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived on March 31st, 1922, her first and last day on the farm. That night, someone lured each family member, one by one, to the barn. Each was killed with a mattock, including 7-year-old Cecilia, who survived several hours, tearing out her own hair in terror. The killer then went to the house and murdered the maid in her bed. The perpetrator stayed in the house for several days after the murders, feeding the cattle, eating food, and keeping the fires burning. Neighbors saw smoke from the chimney, but thought nothing of it. The bodies weren't discovered until April 4th. Police found that someone had been living in the attic for months before the murders. Food had disappeared regularly, and items were moved around the house while the family slept. Despite over 100 suspects being interviewed, no one was ever charged. The farm was eventually demolished, but visitors to the site report hearing phantom footsteps in the snow and seeing lights in a non-existent attic. Local farmers say their animals refused to graze on the land where the farmhouse once stood.